I'm very resentful right now. In fact, I'm pretty angry right now. The left, the media, former federal prosecutors and their ilk seem to be saying if we criticize federal judges, if we criticize them, there's something wrong with us. If we criticize them, we're the ones who are politicizing the judiciary. If we criticize them, we might even be encouraging violence against judges. That is a contemptible, blasphemous lie. Any more than criticism of any public officials would cause any of those things to occur. This government was founded for we the people. We the people. By and for we the people. We have a constitutional construct that is being attacked at every level and in every direction. It is important that those of us who believe in the Constitution and believe that it protects we the people speak out and defend it. If you're interested in taking somewhat of a deep dive here, then this is your right show. The Constitution of the United States creates one court, the Supreme Court. I disagree slightly with my friend Newt Gingrich. No, Congress cannot abolish the Supreme Court. It can change the number of justices, but the court is a constitutional construct. Every other court is a creation of Congress. It creates it, it can eliminate it. It funds it, it can defund it. I also don't agree that we should be impeaching these judges. You want to know why? Not one of them will be removed. Not one. We don't have a super-duper majority of senators that will vote to remove any one of these judges, as long as the Democrats hold 47 seats. So that's not going to happen. So let's not piss in the wind, wet ourselves in the face, and act like we're doing something. There are ways to address this, and I'll get to this later. These federal district courts are a creation of Congress and the president with his signature. They pass what are called judicial acts or judiciary acts, starting in 1801. There's literally nothing in the Constitution that confers judicial review on any court, including the Supreme Court. So judicial review is at best an implied power. Thomas Jefferson would even reject what I just said. The framers of the Constitution, the ratifiers of the Constitution, believed strongly and said so and wrote so that the action would be in Congress and in the executive branch, the elected branches. At no time and nowhere did anybody, Federalist, non-Federalist, whatever you want to call them, Whigs, at no time did anybody argue for judicial supremacy. At no time did anybody argue that the Supreme Court should have the final say, let alone litigation trial district courts created by Congress. Obviously, they hadn't been created yet, but they couldn't have imagined it. And the idea that you can't criticize these judges, the vast majority of whom were appointed because they reject the constitutional order, the vast majority of whom were appointed, the ones we're talking about, by Clinton, Obama, and Biden because they were vetted as radicals, as activists, because they believe in the Wilsonian view of the judiciary, that radical change, that revolutionary change, centralized government comes from unelected judges. The idea that somebody like me writes about it and speaks to it and criticizes it and says enough is enough, that somehow I'm political. that somehow that this could lead to violence is outrageous. It's disgusting. It's unconscionable. We have free speech in this country, not just for Hamas supporters, but for law-abiding, patriotic Americans. There's not a word that passes my lips that suggests anything but legitimate and civil criticism. And that goes for anybody that I talk to on radio or TV. Just because some former federal prosecutors and others have been captured by what's been created out of whole cloth, just because they lived it and they practiced it and they were paid for it, doesn't mean the rest of us have to watch our Constitution be shredded right in front of our eyes. We now have a federal judge who says he ordered the President of the United States to call back an airplane or more, maybe two, that were flying vicious rapists, some killers, back to Venezuela from where they came. To El Salvador, these Venezuelan gang members. And we have the media, including the Wall Street Journal, Politico, and all the rest saying people like me are politicizing the judiciary. Let me be clear. The judiciary is politicizing the judiciary. When judges act like politicians, they must be criticized because they are surrendering their crucial responsibility to the left, to the abusers of government. They can't claim the role of referee and then put on the uniform of one side or the other. You don't hear me attacking the independence of the court system. You hear me demanding the independence of the court system, upholding the Constitution, eliminating activism. That's where I come from. The key to our Constitution, as the framers explained in the Federalist Papers more than once, the key to our Constitution, as the great Antonin Scalia said, is separation of powers. Jefferson made the point. And he wasn't alone. Madison made the point, the father of the Constitution. Jefferson, the father of the Declaration. Where else are we supposed to go? Play along? Only exercise free speech when it's approved, when it's okay? No, we're not going to do that. The criticism of these judges is more than warranted. They're way out of line. They know they are. The plaintiffs, that is the petitioners bringing these cases, they know they are. They're specifically picking these heavy Democrat cities because they know it's more than likely they'll get one of these radical judges appointed by Biden or Obama or Clinton. That's why most of these cases are brought in Washington, D.C., in New York, Providence, Rhode Island, Boston, Massachusetts, Seattle, Washington, San Francisco, California. They're gaming the system. They're literally picking judges who they know will rule on their behalf. This isn't about some criminal case, a motions filing, a brief where you don't like the result, a sentencing where you disagree with a judge. This is about the Republic. It's bigger than one case. The myopia of some of these commentators is pathetic. They want to defend these judges, then defend them. But get into the case. Explain to us what the Constitution says. Explain to us what the law says. Show us how these judges are ruling by upholding the law and the Constitution. That they won't do. They speak in generalities. The constitutional crisis we face right now is coming out of the lower courts of the federal judiciary. And it's got to be stopped. It either has to be stopped by the Supreme Court or stopped by Congress. The problem with Congress is the filibuster rule in the Senate, and I support the filibuster rule, but the Democrats are not going to try and limit the authority of these unelected lawyers at the trial court level. They're not going to do it. That doesn't mean we don't push it. That doesn't mean we don't put it on as riders. It doesn't mean we figure out how to put it in some kind of reconciliation so we can get past the filibuster rule. The smart parliamentarians in the House and the Senate who know Robert's rules up and down, they need to put their heads together and help figure this out. The four original constitutionalists on the court, Alito, Thomas, Kavanaugh's been doing well, Gorsuch, they need to sit down and have a chat with the Chief Justice because things are out of control and they're going to continue to go out of control if federal district judges act like federal national potentates. I've got a lot more to say, and I want to focus in on what this judge did or tried to do when he tried to order the President of the United States to call back planes in international airspace, to return Venezuelan gang members, vicious, vile gang members, back to the United States. You see, Joe Biden can open the border and invite them in specific violation of federal immigration law. But if Donald Trump's trying to enforce federal immigration law and remove them, apparently he needs this judge's permission. That's bullcrap.